Welcome, everybody. Now get ready for 101 random facts that not many people know about. Please drop a like and subscribe to our channel. Let's dive in. Number 1. In July 1518, a bizarre and deadly phenomenon unfolded in Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, now in France, when a woman named Frau Trophea began dancing uncontrollably in the streets. Within a month, around 400 people had joined her, dancing for days without rest. Several of the afflicted reportedly died from exhaustion, strokes, or heart attacks. Theories to explain the outbreak range from mass psychogenic illness, mass hysteria, to ergot poisoning from contaminated rye, which can induce hallucinations. This event remains one of the most mysterious cases of collective behavior in recorded history, baffling scientists and historians alike. Number 2. Between 1864 and 1870, Paraguay engaged in a catastrophic conflict known as the War of the Triple Alliance, fighting against Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. The war was driven by Paraguay's desire to assert dominance over regional river trade routes, particularly the Rio de la Plata basin. However, the country was vastly outmatched militarily and economically. The resulting devastation was unprecedented. An estimated 70% of Paraguay's overall population perished, including up to 90% of adult males, due not only to combat, but also due to starvation, disease, and unsanitary conditions. It remains among the deadliest conflicts, proportionally, in modern history. Number 3. Until the passage of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act in 1974, American women were routinely denied access to credit cards or bank accounts, unless they had a husband to co-sign. This systemic financial dependency often trapped women in abusive or controlling marriages, as bank accounts and credit cards were typically issued in the husband's name. Even women with their own incomes faced obstacles, as banks often refused to recognize their financial independence. The 1974 law marked a significant step toward gender equality in financial matters, though its relatively recent implementation highlights how close we still are to that era of discrimination. Number 4. The first known published Star Trek fanfiction featuring a romantic relationship between Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock appeared in August 1974, just 2 months before the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was signed into law. This curious overlap underscores how recent women's financial rights are in comparison to the emergence of modern fandom culture. Despite being fictional, the early Kirk-Spock stories challenged societal norms around gender and sexuality and laid the groundwork for slash fiction. Interestingly, this also reflects a broader cultural shift in the 1970s, in which both feminist and fan-driven subcultures gained significant traction in American society. Number 5. The Lewis and Clark Expedition, 1804 to 1806, a pivotal moment in American exploration, left behind an unexpected trail. Mercury. Members of the expedition carried Dr. Rush's bilious pills, a powerful laxative made with mercury. As the pills passed through their digestive systems, mercury was expelled and still remains detectable in soil samples across their route. These traces have allowed modern researchers to verify and map parts of the expedition's journey with surprising accuracy. The use of such toxic substances also reflects the limited medical knowledge of the time and the unintended environmental legacy of early exploration efforts. Number 6. Another lesser-known fact about the Lewis and Clark expedition is their use of a Girandoni air rifle, a compressed air-powered weapon, as their primary firearm. Unlike traditional muskets, it didn't require gunpowder and could fire multiple shots quickly and relatively quietly. The explorers used it to impress and avoid alarming Native American tribes they encountered. The rifle was powerful and technologically advanced for its time, capable of firing up to 30 shots before needing to be recharged. This strategic choice highlights the expedition's emphasis on diplomacy, innovation, and adapting technology for peaceful encounters during their journey westward. Number 7. After World War II, a secret group of Holocaust survivors known as the Nakam, or the Avengers, undertook missions to exact retribution against Nazi war criminals. One of their most notable operations involved poisoning German prisoners of war. In a 1946 plan dubbed Plan A, they allegedly poisoned loaves of bread distributed at a POW camp in Nuremberg, affecting over 2,000 prisoners, though none reportedly died. In a separate attack, they successfully poisoned the water supply at another camp, sickening many. These acts remain controversial, revealing the raw desire for justice, or vengeance, in the wake of unimaginable atrocities. Number 8. During the Prohibition era in the United States, 1920 to 1933, innovative workarounds enabled people to continue consuming alcohol. One such method involved Vine Glow grape concentrate bricks. These products came with detailed instructions on what not to do, namely, not to dissolve the brick in a gallon of water and store it in a dark place for 21 days, lest it turn into wine. This tongue-in-cheek warning was a clever nod toward the product's real purpose. Such loopholes allowed citizens to produce wine at home without technically breaking the law, showcasing American ingenuity in sidestepping unpopular legislation. Number 9. About 900,000 years ago, human ancestors faced a catastrophic population bottleneck, likely due to environmental changes or natural disasters. Genetic studies suggest that the number of breeding individuals dropped to just around 1,280 and remained at that level for over 100,000 years. This near-extinction event dramatically shaped the genetic makeup of modern humans. It's believed that all humans today can trace their ancestry back to this small group. Understanding this period sheds light on how fragile our species once was, and how resilient it became, eventually spreading across the globe and developing complex societies and technologies. Number 10. Genetic research supports the idea that all humans share a common maternal ancestor who lived approximately 200,000 years ago in Africa. This woman, often referred to as mitochondrial Eve, is not the only ancestor from that time, but she is the one whose mitochondrial DNA lineage survived to the present day. Mitochondrial DNA is passed down almost exclusively from mother to child, making it a powerful tool for tracing human ancestry. The concept doesn't mean she was the only woman alive then, but rather the only one whose direct maternal line is still unbroken. It's a humbling reminder of our shared origin. Number 11. In the 20th century, some U.S. orphanages and adoption agencies engaged in unethical practices, targeting vulnerable, often unwed, mothers. These women were misled into signing paperwork, which they were told were hospital forms or temporary care documents, but were in fact adoption consents. Their babies were then adopted out, often sold, to wealthy families. Many mothers were told their infants had died. This happened well into the 1960s and 1970s, and disproportionately affected poor and unmarried women. Some countries, including Switzerland, had similar practices. Only recently have survivors and families begun to receive recognition, apologies, and legal restitution. Number 12. In 1884, after cremating his deceased infant son, Welsh physician William Price was arrested under the belief that cremation was illegal in Britain. However, he successfully defended himself in court, arguing that no law explicitly prohibited the practice. His legal victory paved the way for the Cremation Act of 1902, which formally legalized cremation in the UK. A radical thinker and druid, Price's act challenged Victorian norms about death and burial. Today, cremation is a common practice in the UK and elsewhere, but it took a defiant parent and a progressive court to shift public and legal perception. Number 13. In 1997, Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy. In an unexpected move, Microsoft invested $150 million in Apple, a rival in the personal computing space. This was not purely altruistic. Microsoft was under intense antitrust scrutiny by the U.S. government, and the investment helped portray the tech giant as less monopolistic. The investment also ensured Microsoft Office remained available on Apple computers. Ironically, this infusion of cash helped Apple rebound and eventually become one of the world's most valuable companies. Microsoft later sold its Apple shares in 2003 for around $600 million, missing out on future billions. Number 14. Famed magician Harry Houdini was a fierce critic of spiritualists and self-proclaimed psychics. After his mother died, he sought to contact her through mediums but became disillusioned when all the messages were in English, a language she didn't speak, and referred to him as Harry, not his birth name, Eric. Believing these practices exploited grief, Houdini began a campaign to expose fraudulent mediums. He testified before Congress, attempting to ban fortune-telling for profit. His work laid the groundwork for modern skepticism. Ironically, Houdini promised to try to contact his wife from the beyond, but never did. Number 15. For decades, Canada and Denmark playfully contested the ownership of Hans Island, a small, uninhabited rock between Greenland and Canada. Rather than engage in military disputes, each country would leave their national flag and a bottle of liquor, Canadian whiskey or Danish schnapps, on the island in good-natured defiance. This quirky exchange continued from the 1980s until 2022, when both nations finally agreed to split the island. The resolution marked one of the most peaceful and humorous territorial disputes in modern history, showcasing diplomatic civility and mutual respect in contrast to the world's more violent border disputes. Number 16. In 1847, during Ireland's devastating famine, the Choctaw Nation, despite having recently endured the Trail of Tears, sent $170 in aid to the Irish people, equivalent to thousands of dollars today. This act of compassion from a community that had suffered immense hardship resonated deeply with the Irish. In a moving gesture of reciprocity, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Irish citizens raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to support Native American tribes, especially the Navajo Nation. A statue in County Cork commemorates the Choctaws' generosity, symbolizing how empathy can transcend borders, history, and centuries of injustice. Number 17. In the Victorian era, pale skin was a prized beauty standard, associated with wealth and leisure, and women went to dangerous lengths to achieve it. Arsenic-based products, including wafers and lotions, were marketed as complexion enhancers to give a translucent look. These products were toxic, but the dangers were not fully understood, or were ignored in pursuit of fashion. The ideal was to appear delicate and sickly, even mimicking the look of tuberculosis, which was oddly romanticized at the time. This trend highlights the historical extremes of beauty culture and the willingness to sacrifice health for appearance. Number 18. Coca-Cola's original formula once contained coca leaf extract, the source of cocaine. While the drug was later removed, the flavoring agent derived from the leaves remained. To this day, Coca-Cola is the only company in the U.S. permitted to legally import coca leaves. A pharmaceutical company processes the leaves in Maywood, New Jersey. The cocaine is extracted and used for medical purposes, while the decocainized flavor extract is sent to Coca-Cola. This little-known fact connects the iconic soft drink to strict international drug regulations and the unusual legal exception that allows this practice to continue without public scrutiny. Number 19. The An Lushan Rebellion, 755 to 763 CE, was one of the deadliest conflicts in human history, occurring during China's Tang dynasty. Sparked by political betrayal and ambitious generals, the rebellion led to widespread civil war, famine, disease, and mass killings. Historians estimate that up to 30 million people died, roughly 10% of the global population at the time. The rebellion destabilized the Tang government and weakened imperial power. It's a lesser-known event outside of East Asia, yet its consequences were vast, reshaping Chinese society and politics. The sheer scale of the death toll rivals that of the world's most infamous wars. Number 20. While Neanderthals are relatively well known, they were just one of many human species. Homo heidelbergensis, Denisovans, Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the Hobbit, and even Homo naledi are among those who lived during or shortly before Homo sapiens emerged. Homo erectus, one of the longest-lasting species, survived from about 2 million to 100,000 years ago. Some of these species coexisted with early humans and likely interbred. Evidence of Denisovan DNA is found in modern populations. These discoveries challenge the idea of a linear human evolution and suggest a rich, branching family tree of human-like species spread across continents. Number 21. During World War II, the Ustasha regime in the independent state of Croatia, a fascist puppet state aligned with Nazi Germany and fascist Italy, perpetrated mass atrocities primarily against Serbs, Jews, and Roma. The regime established a network of brutal concentration camps, most notoriously Jasenovac, where hundreds of thousands were executed or tortured. These crimes are lesser known globally, particularly outside the Balkans, despite their scale and severity. Survivors and their descendants carried generational trauma, and in some cases, the events were politically suppressed or denied during the Cold War era. The historical memory remains a source of regional tension today. Number 22. On November 22, 1963, three significant figures passed away: U.S. President John F. Kennedy, writer Aldous Huxley, and author C.S. Lewis. Kennedy's assassination dominated global headlines, overshadowing the deaths of the other two. Huxley, best known for Brave New World, and Lewis, famed for the Chronicles of Narnia and Christian apologetics, had profound cultural and intellectual influence. The coincidence of their deaths on the same day inspired philosophical reflections, including Peter Kreeft's book, Between Heaven and Hell, which imagines a posthumous dialogue among the three. It's a striking intersection of political, literary, and philosophical history. Number 23. In 14th century Portugal, Crown Prince Pedro fell in love with Inés de Castro, a noblewoman and lady-in-waiting to his betrothed. Though they secretly married and had children, King Afonso IV disapproved and ordered Inés executed in 1355. When Pedro ascended the throne, he sought revenge, reportedly killing her assassins in gruesome fashion. He then exhumed her body, placed it on the throne, and forced the court to pay homage by kissing her decomposed hand. This macabre tale of love, betrayal, and vengeance has endured in Portuguese culture and literature, often likened to Shakespearean tragedy or medieval Gothic drama. Number 24. Wilmer McLean owned a farm in Manassas, Virginia, where the first major battle of the American Civil War, the First Battle of Bull Run, broke out in 1861. To escape the war, he moved his family to Appomattox Courthouse. Ironically, in April 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant in McLean's parlor, effectively ending the war. McLean famously remarked, "The war began in my front yard and ended in my front parlor." His story is a remarkable footnote in American history, symbolizing the war's reach into the lives of ordinary citizens. Number 25. Infanticide, the killing of newborns, was historically widespread across ancient civilizations, including Greece and Rome. It was often considered a practical solution for unwanted births due to poverty, deformity, or illegitimacy. Babies were sometimes left in jars or public places, allowing society to view it not as murder, but abandonment with a faint hope of rescue. Midwives were frequently complicit, easing the burden on fathers. Only with the spread of Christianity and later Enlightenment values did opposition to the practice grow. Notably, the ancient Egyptians were among the few early cultures known to reject infanticide altogether. Number 26. From the 1890s to the early 1930s, a series of labor conflicts known as the American Coal Wars erupted in mining regions, particularly in Appalachia. These clashes stemmed from horrific working conditions, wage exploitation, and the use of hired enforcers by coal companies. The most violent of these was the Battle of Blair Mountain in 1921, where thousands of miners faced off against private militias and eventually the U.S. Army. Despite its scale, this labor rebellion is rarely taught in schools. The event was largely erased from mainstream memory, likely to prevent inspiration for future organized labor uprisings. Number 27. It's astounding to consider that someone born around 1900 could have witnessed both the Wright brothers' first powered flight in 1903 and the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969. Within a single human lifespan, humanity advanced from rudimentary aircraft made of wood and canvas to rockets capable of reaching the lunar surface. This incredible technological leap reflects the exponential pace of innovation across the 20th century. Many elders of the 1960s had lived through the invention of automobiles, radio, television, and space travel, a testament to the rapid transformation of human experience in modern times. Number 28. Roman Emperor Caligula, who ruled from 37 to 41 AD, is remembered for his eccentric and often cruel behavior. One of his most infamous acts was his affection for his horse, Incitatus. Historical accounts say Caligula gave the horse a marble stall, an ivory manger, a jeweled collar, and even a house. Some sources claim he intended to make Incitatus a senator, though this may have been satire or political commentary. Whether literal or exaggerated, the story reflects Caligula's contempt for the Roman Senate and his use of absurdity to demonstrate his absolute power. Number 29. Gabrielle Coco Chanel, the fashion icon who revolutionized women's clothing with minimalist elegance, also had a dark chapter in her past. During World War II, she maintained a romantic relationship with a German officer and allegedly served as a Nazi intelligence agent. Declassified documents and biographies suggest she used the war as an opportunity to reclaim control of her perfume business from Jewish partners. After the war, she avoided prosecution, possibly due to connections with British intelligence. Chanel's legacy in fashion is undeniable, but her wartime actions remain a controversial and troubling aspect of her biography. Number 30. Before the Industrial Revolution, many people in Europe and elsewhere practiced biphasic sleep, 2 distinct sleep periods during the night. People would go to bed shortly after sunset, wake up for an hour or two in the middle of the night, and then return to sleep until dawn. This first sleep and second sleep routine was well documented in historical records and literature. During the waking hours, people often prayed, read, or visited neighbors. The practice faded with the rise of artificial lighting and rigid work schedules. Some sleep researchers suggest this could be a more natural human rhythm. Number 31. During the 1968 U.S. presidential election, Richard Nixon covertly intervened in ongoing Vietnam peace negotiations. Fearing a successful treaty would boost his opponent, Vice President Hubert Humphrey, Nixon's campaign secretly encouraged South Vietnam to delay participating in the talks, promising a better deal under his presidency. This political maneuver, now widely regarded as treasonous, extended the war and resulted in thousands more deaths. The full extent of Nixon's interference wasn't confirmed until decades later, with declassified documents and recordings revealing the depth of the subterfuge. The scandal is a sobering example of political ambition overriding human cost. Number 32. Similar to Nixon's actions in 1968, Ronald Reagan's 1980 campaign was rumored to have interfered with the Iran hostage crisis to prevent a resolution before the election. Allegations suggest that intermediaries made back-channel communications with Iran, encouraging them to delay releasing U.S. hostages until after President Jimmy Carter left office. The hostages were freed on January 20, 1981, the day Reagan was inaugurated, fueling suspicions. Though hard evidence remains debated, the October surprise theory persists among historians and journalists. If true, it demonstrates how geopolitical events can be manipulated to influence electoral outcomes with far-reaching consequences. Number 33. In 1954, the CIA orchestrated a coup in Guatemala to depose democratically elected President Jacobo Arbenz. His administration had passed land reforms that threatened the interests of the United Fruit Company, now Chiquita Brands, which owned vast tracts of unused land in the country. U.S. officials, many of whom had ties to United Fruit, labeled Arbenz a communist, a strategic move during the Cold War. The coup plunged Guatemala into decades of authoritarian rule, civil war, and human rights abuses. This intervention is one of the most infamous examples of corporate influence directing U.S. foreign policy for economic gain. Number 34. Thomas Jefferson, a deist and Enlightenment thinker, created his own version of the Bible by physically cutting and pasting passages from the New Testament. He removed all references to miracles, divinity, and the supernatural, focusing instead on Jesus' ethical teachings. The result, known as the Jefferson Bible, presents a version of Christianity stripped of religious dogma. Jefferson saw Jesus as a moral philosopher rather than a divine figure. His edited Bible reflects the philosophical ideals of reason and personal morality that shaped the founding of the United States, though it remains a controversial artifact among modern theologians and historians. Number 35. Osama bin Laden's father, Mohammed bin Awad bin Laden, founded the Saudi bin Laden Group, a construction empire with deep ties to the Saudi royal family. The family became immensely wealthy and influential. In the 1970s and 1980s, Osama's half-brother, Salim bin Laden, invested in George W. Bush's early oil venture, Arbusto Energy. These financial connections between the bin Laden and Bush families have fueled speculation and conspiracy theories, especially after the September 11th attacks. While Osama was estranged from his family, the overlapping business interests highlight how entangled global elites can be, even across ideological divides. Number 36. Enrico Dandolo, the Doge of Venice, was over 90 years old and completely blind when he led the Fourth Crusade, not to the Holy Land, but to Constantinople. In 1204, the Crusaders, heavily indebted to Venice, sacked the Christian capital of the Byzantine Empire instead. Dandolo's leadership and strategy were instrumental in the conquest, which led to a brief Latin occupation of the city and the looting of priceless relics. He died shortly after and was buried in Hagia Sophia. His story is a remarkable case of advanced age defying conventional expectations of power, warfare, and political ambition. Number 37. For centuries, the Catholic Church employed castrati, boys castrated before puberty, to preserve their high-pitched singing voices. These singers dominated European opera and church music from the 17th to 19th centuries. Castration was a brutal and irreversible procedure, often performed without consent or understanding. The practice declined in the late 1800s, and by 1903, the Vatican banned castrati from new appointments. The last known castrato, Alessandro Moreschi, recorded several haunting arias in the early 20th century. His ghostly recordings are the only surviving audio of a castrato voice, serving as a chilling reminder of a once-accepted tradition. Number 38. In preparation for a costly invasion of mainland Japan during World War II, the U.S. military produced a massive number of Purple Heart medals, awards given to soldiers wounded or killed in action. However, Japan surrendered after the atomic bombings, and the invasion never happened. As a result, the surplus of medals has lasted for decades. Remarkably, some of the Purple Hearts awarded in recent conflicts, including Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, were originally manufactured in the 1940s. This long shelf life speaks to both the efficiency of wartime production and the tragic continuity of armed conflict. Number 39. It's estimated that female mosquitoes, the ones that bite, have caused the deaths of nearly half of all humans who have ever lived, primarily due to the transmission of diseases like malaria, yellow fever, and dengue. Malaria alone kills hundreds of thousands of people annually. In the 20th century, efforts to eliminate malaria nearly succeeded, but bans on DDT, a highly effective pesticide, led to a resurgence. Though controversial due to its environmental effects, DDT is now being reintroduced in controlled ways in some sub-Saharan African nations. Mosquitoes remain one of the greatest public health threats in human history. Number 40. When discussing colonial empires, Britain, France, and Spain typically dominate the conversation. However, both Portugal and the Netherlands established far-reaching and influential colonies. Portugal's colonial presence dates back to the 15th century, with holdings in Africa, South America, notably Brazil, and Asia. The Dutch, meanwhile, controlled parts of Indonesia, the Caribbean, and had brutal operations in Africa. Despite their smaller size, these nations had disproportionate global influence, particularly in maritime trade and the slave trade. The Dutch East India Company was one of the world's first multinational corporations and played a significant role in global economic history. Number 41. Although history credits James Marshall with discovering gold at Sutter's Mill in 1848, sparking the California Gold Rush, some accounts suggest it was actually a young boy named Peter Weimer who found the gold while playing near the construction site. The Mormons working on the mill recognized the significance and may have left to begin prospecting themselves. Marshall is often remembered simply because he confirmed the find and had it tested. Regardless of who found it first, the discovery led to one of the largest mass migrations in U.S. history, forever altering California's demographics and economic trajectory. Number 42. In the middle of the Sahara Desert once stood the tree of Tenere, the only tree for over 250 miles and considered the most isolated in the world. This lone acacia tree survived due to an incredibly deep root system that tapped into hidden groundwater. It was a landmark for nomads and travelers. Tragically, in 1973, a drunk truck driver crashed into the tree, killing it. The incident symbolized the fragility of nature even in the most remote regions. Today, a metal sculpture stands where the tree once grew, commemorating both its resilience and its sad demise. Number 43. In the antebellum American South, there was a grim period between harvests known as slave suicide season. During this time, many enslaved people were sold off due to decreased labor demand, often separating families permanently. The psychological toll was immense, and some enslaved individuals took their own lives rather than face separation or continued bondage. This dark chapter of American slavery highlights the human cost of treating people as property. The emotional trauma inflicted stretched across generations, and the season became a symbol of the cruelty embedded within the slavery-based economy. Number 44. During the historic Apollo 11 mission in 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong accidentally broke a crucial circuit breaker with his backpack while moving inside the lunar module. The switch was essential for firing the ascent engine needed to leave the moon's surface. Mission Control couldn't fix it remotely, and with no backup, the crew risked being stranded. Buzz Aldrin ingeniously used a felt-tip pen to activate the switch manually. This small but vital improvisation helped ensure their safe return. The incident exemplifies the delicate balance between high-stakes engineering and human ingenuity in space exploration. Number 45. In 1900, the average life expectancy in the United States was just 46 for men and 48 for women. However, this figure is misleading if taken at face value. It was heavily skewed by extremely high infant and child mortality rates. Adults who survived past early childhood often lived into their 60s or beyond. The low average reflects poor sanitation, lack of antibiotics, and limited medical care for infections and childbirth complications. Understanding this nuance reminds us that statistical averages can obscure the lived experiences and longevity of those who survived early hardships. Number 46. Between the 1950s and 1970s, approximately 250,000 babies in Australia were forcibly adopted from unwed mothers. Women were often coerced, misled, or drugged into surrendering their children. Some were told their babies had died shortly after birth, while others were pressured by social workers and religious institutions. Many records were falsified, making reunification nearly impossible. These adoptions were part of broader societal norms that stigmatized single motherhood. In recent years, Australia has issued official apologies and compensation to some victims. The practice left lasting scars on mothers and adoptees, many of whom are still seeking answers today. Number 47. When Iceland officially adopted Christianity around the year 1000, the transition from paganism involved compromise. To ease resistance, the government allowed a grace period during which certain pagan practices, including infanticide, could continue temporarily. Infanticide had been common in Norse culture, often used to manage food scarcity or social shame. Christianity, however, strictly forbade it. The compromise helped the country avoid civil war during its religious transformation. Over time, the practice faded, replaced by Christian values emphasizing the sanctity of life. This historical moment illustrates how cultural shifts are sometimes negotiated rather than imposed overnight. Number 48. Well before the Cold War between superpowers, the U.S. experienced its own era of Cold Wars. Violent labor struggles between mining workers and private security forces hired by corporations. From the 1890s through the 1930s, these conflicts included strikes, sabotage, and outright battles. The climax came in 1921 at the Battle of Blair Mountain in West Virginia, where 10,000 armed miners clashed with law enforcement and mercenaries. The U.S. Army was eventually deployed to suppress the rebellion. These events have largely been omitted from mainstream history books, despite their significance in shaping labor law and workers' rights. Number 49. It's astonishing to think that individuals born at the dawn of the 20th century witnessed some of the most dramatic technological leaps in human history. Someone born in 1900 could have seen the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903 and lived to watch the moon landing in 1969. In one lifetime, humanity progressed from horse-drawn carriages to jet travel, from telegraphs to television, and from gas lamps to nuclear power. This era of transformation reshaped global society, economies, and the very concept of possibility, all within the span of a single human life. Number 50. Caligula, who ruled Rome from 37 to 41 AD, is infamous for his erratic and often cruel behavior. Among his most bizarre acts was his treatment of his beloved horse, Incitatus. Caligula reportedly fed him oats mixed with gold flakes, built him a marble stable, and even gave him a house with servants. Ancient sources claim that Caligula planned to appoint Incitatus as a senator, possibly as a joke or as an insult to the Roman Senate. While the story's accuracy is debated, it illustrates the emperor's contempt for political norms and his flair for theatrical absurdity. Number 51. Every 26 seconds, Earth produces a mysterious pulse detected by seismic instruments. This microseismic hum, often traced to the ocean near the Gulf of Guinea, has baffled scientists for decades. Though harmless, its precise source remains unknown, sparking theories ranging from underwater volcanoes to ocean waves interacting with continental shelves. It's like Earth's subtle, rhythmic heartbeat echoing beneath our feet. Number 52. In 1980, the BBC pulled an elaborate April Fool's prank by announcing that Big Ben would be replaced with a digital clock and renamed Digital Dave. The satirical broadcast drew mixed reactions, with outraged traditionalists and amused pranksters alike. The hoax highlighted the power of media and remains one of the most memorable April Fool's jokes in British broadcasting history. Number 53. Celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain called Pixar's Ratatouille the best food-related film ever created. He praised it for accurately portraying the dynamics of a professional kitchen, from the chaos of the line cooks to the emotional intensity of culinary creation. For Bourdain, the animated rat chef represented the very spirit of passion, creativity, and redemption found in real kitchen life. Number 54. In 1567, Inca ruler Tito Cusupeni penned a remarkable letter to Spain's King Philip II. Written in Spanish, the letter detailed the Spanish invasion of his lands and appealed for recognition of his sovereignty. Citing both Spanish law and Christian morals, the ruler's plea reflected a rare moment of political diplomacy amid violent conquest, showcasing indigenous resistance through educated advocacy. Number 55. Captured by the English during the 100 Years' War, King John II of France was allowed to return home to raise his ransom while his son remained a hostage. When his son later escaped captivity, John shocked Europe by voluntarily returning to English prison. He declared that honor and good faith must live on in the hearts of kings. Number 56. John Ratcliffe, once colonial governor of Jamestown and fictionalized as the villain in Disney's Pocahontas, met a tragic and brutal end. Captured by Powhatan warriors, he was reportedly tortured and executed by being skinned alive. His death stands in stark contrast to his cartoonish portrayal, reminding us of the often grim reality behind sanitized versions of early American history. Number 57. Cheetahs have distinctive black tear marks that run from their eyes to their mouths. These marks aren't just decorative. They serve a vital function by reducing glare from the sun, helping cheetahs see better during the day. This natural sunshade system enhances their focus and precision while hunting, giving them a crucial advantage as high-speed predators on Africa's open plains. Number 58. Heart attack symptoms can differ significantly between men and women. While chest pain is a common hallmark for both, women are more likely to experience vague symptoms like nausea, shortness of breath, back pain, or jaw discomfort. This disparity often leads to misdiagnosis or delayed treatment in women, making heart disease awareness and gender-specific symptom recognition especially important in healthcare. Number 59. While filming John Wick 4, Keanu Reeves showed appreciation to his stunt team in heartfelt ways. He gave each performer a custom t-shirt listing the number of times they died on screen. Some had over 20 deaths. As an extra gesture, Reeves gifted his core stunt team personalized Rolex Submariner watches, each engraved with a unique message, celebrating their hard work. Number 60. Facial hair became fashionable among Victorian men, partly due to the Crimean War. Soldiers fighting in cold, harsh conditions grew beards and mustaches for warmth and practicality. When they returned home, their rugged appearances became a symbol of bravery and masculinity. This wartime necessity evolved into a cultural trend, influencing grooming styles for an entire generation of European men. Number 61. After Germany's shocking 7-1 win over Brazil in the 2014 FIFA World Cup, a well-known adult website made an unusual request to its users. The platform asked that people stop uploading match highlights as the site had been flooded with clips of the game. The match became an internet phenomenon, symbolizing one of the most unexpected outcomes in sports history. Number 62. The Mott and Bailey fallacy is a deceptive debating tactic. A person presents a controversial argument, the Bailey, and when it's challenged, they retreat to a more defensible, agreeable statement, the Mott. Once pressure eases, they return to promoting the original claim. This technique manipulates discussions by disguising radical ideas beneath more acceptable ones, making it a common tool in public discourse. Number 63. The very first $1 million winner on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, John Carpenter, used his only lifeline, phone a friend, not to ask a question, but to tell his dad he was about to win. The bold move stunned audiences and made TV history. That confident moment is still shared widely online as a legendary example of cool under pressure. Number 64. Male gorillas who engage in babysitting behavior have higher reproductive success, according to a 2018 study. By caring for and playing with young gorillas, these males gain favor with females, resulting in more offspring. Researchers found that attentive males sired over 5 times more babies than their aloof counterparts. This finding challenges assumptions about paternal roles in primate societies. Number 65. Sustaining a filibuster in U.S. Senate history has sometimes meant resorting to bizarre tactics. Senators have read recipes aloud, recited the phone book, and even physically restrained each other to delay proceedings. One particularly dramatic instance involves stopping a colleague from hurling a brass spittoon. These theatrical efforts underscore the lengths lawmakers have gone to stall legislation or gain leverage. Number 66. In 1978, a hostage situation in Melbourne, Australia, ended in an unexpected way. A man took 30 people hostage, but the standoff concluded when his own mother burst into the scene. She hit him with her handbag and scolded him for being foolish, convincing him to surrender. Her bold actions saved lives and became part of Australian crime folklore. Number 67. King Pedro I of Portugal had his lover, Inês de Castro, executed by his father, King Alfonso IV, in 1355. When Pedro became king, he exacted brutal revenge. He ordered the public execution of her killers by ripping out their hearts, claiming they had shattered his own. This tale of love and vengeance has inspired countless works in Portuguese literature. Number 68. Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island on Earth, was so isolated that its residents didn't learn about World War I until 1919, after the war had already ended. With no resupply ships for a decade, the islanders lived unaware of the global conflict. When news finally arrived, it underscored just how cut off they truly were from the outside. Number 69. During World War II, Nazi Germany developed the V3 supergun, a massive artillery weapon designed to fire shells over 100 miles to hit London. Installed in an underground complex in France, it was meant to fire dozens of rounds per hour. However, Allied bombings and technical issues prevented it from ever being used effectively in actual combat operations. Number 70. Scientists have created a new state of water called superionic ice. Under extreme pressure and temperature, this form of ice behaves like both a solid and a liquid. Its structure allows hydrogen ions to move freely, while oxygen atoms stay fixed. Thought to exist inside Uranus and Neptune, it challenges our understanding of water's behavior under extreme planetary conditions. Number 71. Oscar statuettes cannot be freely sold or given away by their recipients. Winners must first offer the award back to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for just $1 before any other transaction. This rule, established in 1951, is meant to preserve the symbolic value of the Oscar and prevent it from becoming a mere collectible or commodity. Number 72. Despite their name, Mountain goats are not true goats. They actually belong to the antelope family and are more closely related to species like gazelles and musk oxen. Native to North America's rugged mountains, these sure-footed climbers have evolved thick coats and specialized hooves, allowing them to scale steep, rocky terrain that would challenge nearly any other large mammal. Number 73. Wasps provide an enormous agricultural service by controlling pest populations. Each year, they save global crops, valued at over $417 billion, by preying on pests that damage plants. Though often feared or disliked, wasps are natural pest regulators far more effective than many chemicals, playing a vital role in maintaining ecological balance and supporting food production worldwide. Number 74. In 1993, 12-year-old William Gadoury from Canada made waves in the scientific community. He theorized that Mayan cities were aligned with star constellations. Using satellite imagery and ancient maps, he located a site in the Mexican jungle that matched a star pattern, possibly an undiscovered city. Though debated, his work earned global praise and inspired further archaeological investigation. Number 75. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe published a novel in which shipwreck survivors resort to cannibalism, drawing lots to determine who would be eaten. The victim in the story was named Richard Parker. Astonishingly, 46 years later, a real shipwreck occurred where the sailors killed and ate a young cabin boy, also named Richard Parker. The coincidence remains chillingly eerie. Number 76. Before becoming president, Abraham Lincoln was a skilled wrestler. According to historical records, he lost only one of nearly 300 matches. His strength and agility earned him local fame in Illinois and eventually led to his posthumous induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Lincoln's wrestling prowess reflected the physical toughness often required in frontier American life. Number 77. Banana plants may resemble trees, but botanically speaking, they are herbs. The plant lacks a woody trunk and instead has a pseudostem made of tightly packed leaf bases. This classification makes the banana the world's largest herbaceous flowering plant. Its misleading appearance has long confused people, making it one of the most surprising botanical facts in common knowledge. Number 78. The Eiffel Tower can grow more than 6 inches taller during the summer due to thermal expansion. As the iron structure heats up, it expands slightly, lengthening its height. This seasonal fluctuation is temporary, and the tower returns to its usual size as temperatures cool. The phenomenon highlights how even massive structures respond to subtle changes in temperature. Number 79. Goodyear blimps are not just floating billboards. They are officially registered aircraft. Each has a unique tail number assigned by the FAA, just like commercial planes. Pilots undergo special training to fly these airships, which require different skills than airplanes. Though retro in appearance, Goodyear blimps remain a staple of aerial sports coverage and advertising at major public events. Number 80. In 1996, a man in Kentucky accidentally shot himself while attempting to sue his landlord. He then filed a legal case against himself for negligence, hoping to collect insurance money. Surprisingly, he won the court case, but the insurance company refused to pay once they discovered the deception. The bizarre situation became a notable example of legal loophole exploitation. Number 81. Octopuses have 3 hearts, each with a distinct role. 2 pump blood to the gills for oxygenation, while the third sends it to the rest of the body. Interestingly, when an octopus swims, the systemic heart stops beating, which is why they prefer crawling. Their blood is also blue due to a copper-rich protein called hemocyanin, aiding oxygen transport. Number 82. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years, making them older than trees. Trees began to appear around 350 million years ago, while fossil records show sharks thriving long before that. These ancient predators have survived mass extinctions and major evolutionary shifts, adapting remarkably to changing ecosystems and maintaining a vital role in marine food chains throughout Earth's history. Number 83. Statistically, vending machines cause more annual deaths than sharks. This surprising fact stems from people shaking or tipping over machines, often in frustration, which can lead to fatal accidents. While shark attacks are rare and heavily sensationalized, vending machine-related injuries are more common, highlighting how mundane objects can sometimes be more dangerous than feared predators of the sea. Number 84. A day on Venus is longer than its year. The planet takes about 243 Earth days to complete a single rotation on its axis, but only 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. This unusual rotation means that Venus experiences extremely long days and nights, contributing to its scorching surface temperatures and dense, toxic atmosphere rich in carbon dioxide. Number 85. Your stomach lining renews itself every 3 to 4 days. This continuous regeneration prevents your stomach from digesting itself with its own hydrochloric acid. The lining's rapid cell turnover is essential for maintaining digestive health, protecting against ulcers, and allowing the stomach to function despite its highly acidic environment, conditions that would otherwise erode most bodily tissues over time. Number 86. Wombats produce cube-shaped feces, a trait that has puzzled scientists for years. Their intestines compress the waste gradually, shaping it into neat cubes. This unique adaptation prevents the droppings from rolling away, helping wombats mark territory effectively. The discovery has even inspired engineers, who study the mechanics behind the cube formation to improve industrial processes like shaping soft materials. Number 87. Male gentoo penguins search beaches for the smoothest pebbles to present to potential mates. If the female accepts the pebble, viewed as a symbolic gift, they become partners. The pebble is then used to build their nest. This charming courtship ritual highlights the importance of nesting materials in penguin colonies and mirrors the concept of offering a ring in human proposals. Number 88. During a rabbit hunt organized by Napoleon Bonaparte, things took a comical turn. Instead of wild hares, tame farm rabbits were released. Mistaking Napoleon and his men for feeders, the rabbits swarmed them. The hunt descended into chaos as the future emperor fled from the over-friendly animals. The incident remains a peculiar and humorous footnote in Napoleonic history. Number 89. The longest time between the births of twins is an astonishing 87 days. One twin was born prematurely, while the other remained in the womb to develop further. Doctors managed to delay the second birth to improve survival odds. This extraordinary case illustrates the lengths to which medical teams can go to safeguard the health of both infants during risky pregnancies. Number 90. The jellyfish species Turritopsis doherni is often called biologically immortal. When injured or facing stress, it can revert its cells to an earlier developmental stage, essentially starting its life anew. This cellular reset allows it to bypass death, at least theoretically. While not immune to disease or predation, its regeneration ability makes it a marvel of marine biology and aging research. Number 91. Oxford University predates the Aztec Empire. Teaching began at Oxford as early as 1096, making it one of the oldest institutions of higher learning in the world. By comparison, the Aztec civilization rose around the 14th century. This historical gap often surprises people, highlighting how ancient some European institutions are in contrast to more recent global empires. Number 92. Rhubarb grows so quickly under certain conditions that you can actually hear it. During the rhubarb forcing process in dark sheds, the stalks stretch rapidly, creating audible popping and creaking sounds. These noises come from cells expanding and bursting as the plant reaches toward light it never finds. It's a rare botanical event that combines biology with unexpected soundscapes. Number 93. Cows form close social bonds and have best friends. Studies have shown that when separated from their preferred companion, cows exhibit signs of stress, such as elevated heart rates and reduced feeding. Their emotional depth suggests that even farm animals experience complex social relationships, which has led to discussions about improving welfare and handling practices in agricultural environments. Number 94. Butterflies taste with their feet. When they land on a plant, sensors on their feet help determine if it's suitable for laying eggs. These taste receptors detect chemical signatures, ensuring larvae will have the right food. This adaptation allows butterflies to make quick, efficient decisions about reproduction, linking their elegant flight with an extraordinary biological efficiency. Number 95. The dot over a lowercase I or j is called a tittle. Though small, this typographic detail has a name that dates back to Latin origins. Tittles were introduced to distinguish similar-looking letters in handwritten texts. Today, they remain a subtle yet essential feature of modern typography that most people don't realize has a name with historical significance. Number 96. Scotland's national animal is the unicorn. Chosen in the 12th century, it symbolizes purity, strength, and untamed freedom. Despite being mythical, the unicorn appears on Scotland's royal coat of arms and official crests. This imaginative emblem reflects the country's deep-rooted folklore and its desire to stand apart with a symbol as noble and fierce as its historical spirit. Number 97. A cumulus cloud can weigh over 1 million pounds. Despite their fluffy appearance, these clouds contain massive amounts of condensed water vapor. The reason they float is because the surrounding air is even heavier. This counterintuitive fact emphasizes how atmospheric pressure and density allow such enormous formations to hover gracefully in the sky, shaping our weather and landscapes. Number 98. The term factoid originally meant false information presented as a fact. Coined by writer Norman Mailer in 1973, it referred to items that sounded factual but were actually invented. Over time, the word evolved to mean a small or trivial fact, leading to confusion. Today, factoid is often misused, blending real trivia with its original, misleading connotation. Number 99. Astronauts returning from moonwalks reported that lunar dust smelled like spent gunpowder. The fine, clingy particles stuck to their suits and released the strange odor when exposed to oxygen inside the spacecraft. Although the moon has no atmosphere to produce smells, the chemical reaction between lunar dust and air created a scent that intrigued and puzzled returning astronauts. Number 100. The shortest war in recorded history lasted just 38 minutes. The Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896 broke out when the Sultan of Zanzibar refused to step down after the British issued an ultimatum. British ships opened fire, quickly destroying the palace. The Sultan fled, and the war ended in less time than most modern TV episodes. A remarkably brief conflict. Number 101. The first television commercial aired in the United States on July 1, 1941. It was a 10-second ad for Bulova watches and cost only $9. The ad ran before a baseball game on New York's WNBT station. Although humble by today's standards, that brief clip marked the beginning of a global advertising industry that now generates billions through television platforms.